Welcome to the world's #1 fitness business podcast for health club owners, gym managers, and fitness entrepreneurs. As always, this will be a great show as we have another expert to help your fitness business and your career. We'd like to thank our premier sponsor, Active Management, for supporting us, and we highly recommend becoming a member of Active Management to strengthen your business in 2016. There are loads of resources members receive, so join the Active Tribe today at www.activemgmt.com.au. Now that's enough from me. Let's welcome the show's amazing host, Chantal. What's on this week's show?
Thanks, Harper, and hi, everyone. Welcome to our first show for July. This week, I met with the fantastic and super talented Simone Richards. She's a publicity expert for fitness professionals who want to see themselves and their businesses featured in magazines, on TV, and online. She seriously knows her stuff and has got some great tips on where to start, how to get published, and how to get free publicity. All of that and much, much more. Before we get into today's interview, I want to say a big shout out to our fantastic sponsor, Tribe Team Training, the complete small group training business system that's helping clubs make more money without having to sell more memberships. To find out more information, you can head over to www.tribeteamtraining.com. Also, don't forget during June and July, we have a very special birthday present for all of you from our wonderful friends at Active Management. If you haven't already claimed your gift, make sure you stay tuned right to the very end of the show to hear what you need to do. And one last thing. Each month, we like to award our most downloaded shows for the past month. And I like to keep you up to date with milestone downloads that our guests have reached. However, here's the thing. I'm taking a little holiday during July. Yes, I am very, very excited because I'm heading to Canada to check out the beautiful Rockies. So whilst I'm away, you can find all of our award winners for June listed in the show notes in any of our July shows. You can jump on and check them out at fitnessbusinesspodcast.com.
This month, we have an awesome prize for people who subscribe to the show notes at www.fitnessbusinesspodcast.com or engage with the Fitness Business Podcast on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or even emailing us. Do it and you may be this month's winner. Now it's time for this week's guest.
Okay, Tribe, I am here with Simone Richards. And Simone, are you ready to Fitspire our global tribe of fitness business owners and managers?
Heck yes, I am.
And are you ready to overload them with your pearls of wisdom, your strategies for success, and tips to make them better leaders and business people?
You know it. I hope everyone grabs a pen and paper because you're definitely going to want to jot down some of the tips and ideas from this conversation today.
That's a great idea. Now, Simone Richards is a publicity expert for fitpros and wellness-preneurs. I love that. Who are dying to see themselves and their businesses featured in magazines, on TV, and around the web. As the principal of PR agency Vitality PR and Communications in Toronto and the creator of Make Media Friends, an online PR school for health, fitness, and wellness entrepreneurs, she's here to teach us how to connect with the right media personalities and use the power of publicity to get your brand in the spotlight and attract your perfect clients. When she's not shooting national TV segments or working with editors on magazine features, you can find Lisa swinging a kettlebell, getting her zen on at hot yoga, or shopping at her local farmer's market. You're our kind of girl. Now, let's get cracking with your interview. Now, I've just shared a very quick overview, a quick bio with our tribe about what you've done in your business, and you've been able to establish a fantastic business. Can you share with us, has there been any hurdles on your road to success?
Yeah, you know what? One thing that's kind of funny about me is I'm a total type A personality. So I'm currently running both businesses by myself independently with a little bit of help from a virtual assistant. So the hurdle is really getting over myself. I need to diversify. I need to delegate. So right now I definitely have my hands full, but hey, there are worse problems to have, right?
Yeah, absolutely. You're a one-woman band.
Yeah, I am, but I really love being able to really get my hands dirty working with my clients and making sure that we develop the best media plans for them and helping them get coverage so that their businesses get noticed and that they can get clients.
Oh, that's awesome. Now, listen, you, as I mentioned in the bio, you specialize with working with health and fitness industry professionals. Yes. How would you suggest that our tribe would determine whether or not there's a story within their business?
So you know what the great thing is? Everybody has a story within their business without a question. The way that you've evolved to the place that you are now to be qualified as an expert or as a business owner has a story within itself that's unique from everybody else's. So definitely recognize the journey that you have taken to get to where you are is a story within itself. The challenge is just to really come up with an interesting way to tell it that defines your unique selling proposition and also in a way that's going to resonate both with the media and with your target client.
Oh, great answer. Okay, so let me ask you this. When they are seeking out and looking for what they're going to do, what should they be actually looking for?
So one thing that I think is really effective, especially if you're trying to get media coverage for the first time, is to pay attention to what's being talked about in the news already. So we know there are certain stories that come out every single year in the health, fitness, and wellness industry. So you can definitely be sure that in January, there are going to be fitness trends being released from, I believe it's Idea Fitness that releases those. There's always going to be some weight loss stories coming on around summertime, how to get Beachbody ready. So capitalize off of stories that are already existing. You don't always necessarily have to come up with something unique on your own, but rather you can be featured as an expert or as an authority commenting on the stories that you know are going to be coming about. I think that's a really kind of comfortable way to start dipping your toes in the water.
That's a great suggestion. And that seasonality makes perfect sense because I know that, a lot of our tribe members would also be writing articles or posting information on their own blog posts, their own websites, Facebook pages in line with that anyway. So it makes sense to follow that.
For sure. And one thing I talk a lot about is how you can use social media to actually gain access to getting traditional media coverage. And I think it's so smart that you just nailed that, because if you're writing a seasonal or a timely blog post, why not write about something newsworthy and send that to a media source so they can actually take a look at your blog and maybe that turns into a contributed story for a website.
Nice. I want to delve into that with you a little bit more about how they can actually connect up with that media a bit later on. But first of all, let me ask you this, Lisa Simone, how often should our tribe be sending, say, information or a story to the media?
So I wouldn't say there's necessarily a fixed amount of stories or pitches you should be sending regularly. The most important thing is to pitch when you have something of value to share. If you're just pitching 5 stories a month for the sake of it, just to say you're doing it, you can actually end up getting blacklisted. So I think if you can take the time to come up with 2 or 3 really relevant, thoughtful pitches that are very targeted to a specific media personality, not just a blanket pitch, I think that's fair to send on a monthly basis.
Okay, let's talk to me about press releases, because press releases have been around forever and a day. What would the process be for sending a press release?
So I am the biggest fan of saying death to the press release. I hardly advocate them anymore. So if you're launching something, like an iPhone, that's a really technical product with all of these specs and all of this knowledge you need to know, sure, fair. A press release totally makes sense. But truthfully, for the majority of health, fitness, and wellness business owners, you're going to be just sending a pitch. Essentially, what you want to do is really establish a relationship with your key target media personalities and be able to send a simple email saying, hey, magazine editor, I know you're going to be writing about blueberries in your fall issue of, let's say, Health Magazine or Prevention Magazine, for example. I would love to contribute a story about how antioxidants in blueberries can fuel a workout. Would this be of interest to you? Here are the 3 main points I'd like to talk about. So much more concise, gives a lot more information, and it's a lot more informal, which people are really gravitating towards nowadays.
So I guess what I'm hearing is that we really need to not think so much about ourselves and what we're doing at the time, but be very conscious of what the media are looking for.
I absolutely agree with that. I think one of the most helpful things that I ever learned in PR school, and it's harsh, but it's true, is that nobody cares about your business as much as you do. So to reach out to the media and say, hey, guess what? I just opened this gym and we do this, that, and the other. That's not necessarily going to be an entire news story. I mean, it might be for your brand opening, but a year down the line, what's going to be interesting. So what's really going to be relevant to studio owners and fitness business owners is to see how their product or service really relates to the news of the day and how it's a timely fit and how it really serves the audience. So you definitely have to take media relations from an approach of what's in it for the audience or the viewer or the listener, as opposed to how can I just promote myself.
Yeah, that's really interesting. And that really is essentially how we should be thinking about our client relationships as well, is, when we're marketing to our clients, what's in it for them.
Definitely.
So it's an interesting correlation. So let's talk about, we have talked a lot on the show about our ideal customer, or we describe them as our avatar. How do you actually identify what media that our ideal customer is consuming, would you say?
So I'd say, the first thing to do is the easiest. Just ask them, what kind of TV shows, magazines, newspapers, et cetera, are you reading? One thing I definitely always advise my clients of is to have a healthy media mix. So, all of us like to consume information in different ways, whether that's reading it or watching it or listening to it. So I think it's really healthy to keep in mind when you're doing some media outreach, you're going to want to reach out to 2 different TV shows, maybe 2 websites, 2 magazines, 2 newspapers. So that way, depending on how your audience likes to consume their news, you're getting to them on all of those relevant touch points. Another way to figure out what your ideal media is consuming is to think about what is the reach of your product or service. So one thing I have a lot is when a client comes to me, they're like, Lisa, we want to get onto Cityline or The Social, which are 2 of Canada's national TV shows. And we want to be featured in the Globe and Mail, which is Canada's national newspaper. But if you have a service-based business where you're serving people in a very hyper-local specific community, as awesome as it is to get those national media accolades, that's not what's going to help you drive business through the door. So really consider, should you be going for local media, international media, or national media coverage, depending on the scope of how you can serve your clients.
Yeah, that's a really good one to think about. I know that when I speak to a lot of fitness business owners, one of the, fears that hold them back is this idea that getting coverage on television or getting coverage in larger magazines is just out of reach. There's definitely a fear that holds us back, and we worry about how we'll connect with those people. Mm-hmm. Do you find that getting published in the media comes down to who you know?
I think relationships are really, truly becoming everything. Maybe 10 years ago, the PR and media landscape were a bit different, but now it's shrinking. There are fewer journalists in newsrooms. And right now, when they're working on a story, it's easier for them to say, okay, I'm working on this story about, the latest trend in strength and conditioning training. Who do I know that works in that field? They're going to go out and probably talk to somebody that they already know or get a referral to someone to be a source in that story. So for you to put yourself in a position where the media know where you know who you are and what you do, that's a really great way for when they're thinking up ideas or when they need an expert to be like, oh, I know that this person runs a gym and I should probably reach out to them because they'll have some expert insight for me. So I think we're always more likely to do something that's going to help our friends. So when you go out of your way to make friends with the media, then they're going to go out of their way to use you as a source.
Okay, so what's the first steps? How do we initiate that first conversation with the right people?
So I'm definitely a big fan of using social media as a resource to actually find these people. Mm-hmm. So let's take it from a step-by-step basis. So, we just talked about how you would figure out what your ideal media outlets are and how we would want to find ideally, 2 TV shows, 2 radios, 2 magazines, 2 newspapers, and 2 websites. So that's kind of developing your top 10. So what you're going to want to do next is figure out who the exact lifestyle, health, or fitness editor you want to be in touch with is, and then take advantage of social media. Hop onto Twitter and see who's editing the magazine. Take a peek at the masthead to see if you can find some information there. And one thing that I love to do is to create a private Twitter list where I follow all the journalists that I would love to develop media relationships with. And I'll pop in and check that list once a day, just because they're often, sharing stories that they've had published or tweeting that they're looking for a specific source. And I love to start interacting with them that way, really informally. So that way now my names kind of come across their radar in a not too pushy way. Yeah. And then when it comes to the time that I want to send them an email, I can say, oh, hey, we were actually in touch on Twitter. This is my handle. This is what we were chatting about. I had an idea for a story. Would this be of interest to your readers?
Interesting. Really interesting. So kind of stalking a little bit.
I would call it sleuthing. thing. I feel like that
Oh, right.
so
Sorry. My mistake. I think I
creepy
called it.
Sounds a little scary.
Yeah. I think I called it research earlier, didn't I? Tribe, I was telling.
Those terms sound so much nicer.
Yeah, it does. Okay, so basically what you're saying is we need to start reaching out, connecting with the right people on the right platforms, identifying who they are. And you mentioned like identifying through who they are in their professional sort of circumstances. Do we need to get to know them better than that?
Well, I definitely think we want to develop personal relationships with them as well. Twitter and LinkedIn LinkedIn especially is a great resource for finding people professionally, what kind of beats they cover, what media source they're at. Because, sometimes they'll tend to move around a lot and LinkedIn will have the fastest updates for you. Yeah. But one thing I really, really advocate is also developing a personal relationship with them, especially on a medium like Twitter. Mm-hmm. They're not always going to be tweeting about work. Maybe they'll share something about what an event their kids have coming up or something about a pet. And that's actually something I've done in a lot of my media relationships is observe what they're talking about from a personal level and see if I can help them. Be like, oh, your kid plays soccer. I heard of this great conditioning training camp. Have you ever heard of it? And just connect with them on a personal level that way. And that's another way to segue into a professional relationship with them. And again, you're being of service and giving them something as opposed to being like coming out of the blue and saying, hey, my name is this, and I'd love for you to give me a feature in your magazine.
Wow, that's really great advice, Lisa Simone. Okay, tell us, what are some of the don'ts when it comes to reaching out to media?
Ooh, some of the don'ts. Okay, so definitely don't make it all about you. Mm-hmm. Like we were just saying, be of service, help them find sources, help them automatically come to think of you as a source rather than going to them for how they can serve you. Some don'ts are definitely don't add them on personal networks. So while I advocate following media on, don't add them to LinkedIn until you've actually had an interaction with them, but sleuthing/creeping them first is fine. Take a look at them on Facebook or on Twitter, and feel free to give them a follow, but definitely don't jump on private networks like Facebook and follow them. If they have a public and open Instagram account, you're more than welcome to follow that and get another glimpse into their lives. But again, if it's a private account, respect that and don't jump in right there until you have a tighter relationship with them and you can go ahead and follow them there.
Great advice. Okay, so let's say that we have gotten some coverage through media. How can you actually use that coverage that you've already secured to get more hits out of it?
So media tends to have a snowball effect. Mm-hmm. Once you get one piece, then you can grow and grow and grow from there. A lot of the times I have clients, like I mentioned before, who want to get that national TV coverage. But if you've never been on television before, a national show is highly unlikely to pick you up out of the blue and put you on TV in front of the entire country. So one thing I would advise is to start focusing on your local news niches. So get into your local newspaper, maybe into a local TV show, and start developing your media portfolio that way. And then once you started to kind of master your media presence, then you can start pitching to bigger networks and they'll see, okay, this person knows what they're talking about. They present well on camera. Let's put them into another segment. So definitely let media allow itself to turn into more and more opportunities. I would say probably getting that first piece is the hardest. And once you do, it gets easier from there.
Great. Lisa Simone, what would you say if you had to describe the difference between public relations and press releases? Can you give us a definition of each?
Sure, I definitely can. So public relations entails a number of functions. And a few of the different functions that fall under that PR umbrella include publicity. So that's mainly what we're talking about in this episode, how you can get media coverage for your brand and your business. Also, it involves speech writing. It could be reputation management, campaign development, social media strategy, etc. A press release is a tool that's going to fall under the subset of publicity. So essentially, it's crafting a communication to send to the media. But like I mentioned before, I'm a big fan of skipping the press release and to send a personalized pitch instead.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so let's delve a little bit more into PR. So what should we look for if we're looking to appoint a PR company?
Okay, so let's say you've grown, I definitely advocate, just in your starting off early days, especially when you don't have, that many flexible funds to be investing. I think a lot of small businesses and entrepreneurs can take that DIY PR route and tell their own story. But once you have graduated to a position where you are looking to bring on an agency, you might want to look for someone who has expertise in your specific industry. So like we were saying before, it's all about relationships. So if you're owning a CrossFit gym, you're not going to want to hire a tech PR company because most of the relationships are in PR. So look for someone who has expertise in your industry. You want to see someone who has a proven track record. When's the last time they got a story published? If it was 3 years ago, that's definitely going to be a red flag. Take a look at the coverage that their clients have gotten, and also see if they have what their ability to be creative is. So what we were talking about earlier was the specifics of the fitness PR industry and how we were saying, there are certain stories you're going to see every single year. So you can rest assured that come New Year's, there are 20 different gyms featuring New Year's fitness. How creative is that PR agency you're looking at able to be? How can they spin it, the same story, into something that's new and interesting and likely to be picked up by media?
Okay, so what about when it comes to actually crafting a brief and outlining a brief? What should we be thinking about including in that?
So keep in mind, again, the theme of this interview has been, it's a beam of service.
Yeah.
So when the media are going through their inboxes every day, I kid you not, they're getting up hundreds of pitches a day.
Yeah.
So you really need to make it concise and informative to grab their attention. So I always think you should include the W5H of information. Who, what, where, why, when, and how. So just get to the crux of that information and be sure to answer, why should I care?
Okay, so next question I've got for you is, are we better off to focus on a specific event or activity, or perhaps the whole business when we're aiming to get that media coverage?
So I think there's definitely a time and a place for both, but I would actually recommend focusing on a specific event or an activity overall to most entrepreneurs, only because it's much easier to grasp in the outset. So if there are too many different aspects from your business that are competing for information, it can lead to muddy messaging, some overwhelm and confusion. So if you focus on one key thing, that gives you more opportunity to go into depth on that thing and to also stand out as opposed to being general.
Great one. And how about when it comes to KPIs? Do you think that we can set KPIs for PR? And if so, what would they be?
Absolutely. You can definitely set some benchmarks for your PR activity. So some common goals and objectives I set forth when I'm designing a campaign with my clients is figuring out, in our news coverage, do we have an image included in the piece? Do they have a quote from our spokesperson? What's the tonality of the piece? Does it have a positive slant or is it negative? Are we featured exclusively, or are our competitors included as well? So definitely look at setting some non-monetary goals around how your story is covered and how your brand is covered in the media.
Talking about money, the question on everyone's lips, how do we determine what to pay?
So it's definitely going to be different depending on what agency you go to. Mm-hmm. So in the past, I've worked with, some of the big name PR agencies that are international. And if you're lucky, that can start at $10,000 a month on a 12-month retainer. But then again, there are also boutique agencies such as myself that have much shorter retainers. I work with my clients on a 4-month retainer basis so I can make it a little more feasible. And because we don't have the overhead of, hundreds of staff and an office space, et cetera, we can afford to set our rates at a much more feasible price. And having worked with entrepreneurs and small businesses for a little while, I've seen that even those reasonable rates tend to be a little bit challenging for small businesses.
Yeah. So
that's why I decided to go ahead and open up the online education tool, Make Media Friends, so that they have a way to do it themselves at a fraction of that cost.
Great. And I also noticed on your website when I was stalking you, when I was researching you earlier, I noticed on your website, and I'm just having a quick look now, of course, my website's slowed down completely. You had a few different options on that homepage, didn't you? Like the retainer was one option, but didn't you also have some specific projects or something else as well?
I did. So I'm really observant of the fact that different entrepreneurs and different small businesses have different projects and different budgets and different needs. So there are a few different ways that I work with clients. One is doing the retainer route. So that's where you retain me for 4 months at a time. And then we'll develop a PR execution plan, and I'll go ahead and execute everything on my client's behalf. We also do consultation. So that way, you can come and ask me what your top 5 PR and marketing challenges are, and we can sit down over 90 minutes, 2 hours, and discuss, okay, this is how I would approach all the challenges that you're having, and I'll give you kind of like my cheat sheet on what I would do, and you go ahead and implement it. Alternatively, I'll do something that's on a project basis. So let's say you're having a media launch or a site launch. I can help people with that. And then, like I mentioned earlier, there's also the online tool where people can learn how to do it themselves.
Excellent. Okay. Are there any other tips that you have for us on selecting a PR company or person to work with?
So definitely seek out who their clients are and get some referrals. find out what kind of effect and positive relationships that their media campaigns have had for these clients in the past. Touch base with them, see who their 5 closest media relationships are with. Make sure that those align with the key media outlets that you want to be in. So PR is really heavily based on our creativity, but also who we are friends with. So you're going to want to know who those people are off the bat. Also, ask them what other services they can offer that'll complement PR activities. So will they manage your social media? Will they help you create content for your marketing strategy? Because there's definitely a way that PR, social media, and traditional marketing are all going to interact with one another. So if you can do everything in a cohesive, supportive manner, that'll make everything all the more seamless.
Now, you touched on this earlier, but I just want to reiterate because we do have a lot of our tribe who are sole traders. They're working by themselves in a small business setup. It's okay for them to do DIY, right, to get started with.
I absolutely think so, especially in the earlier days. There's no one who can tell your story better than you can and with more passion, with more conviction. So definitely learn how to tell your own story and hang on to a few dollars and then opt for PR a little bit later down the line when you're ready to make that more national or international jump.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think with the tips that you've given us today, that will help a lot of people know where to start in getting started with their own DIY if they want to take that route. Okay. Well, you have been sensational. I'm so thrilled with the information that you've shared with us so far, Lisa Simone. Now, I'm just hoping you can leave us today with your very best fitbiz and tell us your top 3 tips for fitness business owners or managers to get some free media coverage for their business.
Okay, so here are my top 3 tips. Number 1, host a media event and invite the media to a complimentary industry session at your facility, and that way you can target multiple media at once. Tip number 2, stay on top of the fitness trends or whatever the trends in your relevant industry are, and pitch yourself as being able to offer expert insight on what those trends are, something that we call newsjacking in the industry. And tip number 3 is to create your own newsworthy content. Like we mentioned before in our discussion, use social media, whether that's your blog or your YouTube channel or whatever networks you're present on, to build your own credibility and then share it with the media in the right way that will be interesting to them. And my 3rd tip is to create your own newsworthy content using social media. So like we discussed earlier in this interview, we talked about how to use your blog to write about the latest happenings in your industry, or maybe you can take advantage of your YouTube channel. So definitely take advantage of your own social networks to build your own credibility and then share it the right way with media in a way that's going to be interesting to them. Also, if you're looking for some ways to get free media coverage for your business, hop onto my website at makemediafriends.com, where you can download my free 7 ways to get press for your health and fitness brand right now.
That sounds sensational. Lisa Simone, I want to say a huge thank you because I just think the information that you've shared with us today is so highly relevant for so many of us. Really appreciate you giving us those insights into your world of PR, and I think that you've definitely set us up with some great opportunities, ways that we can now really start cranking that PR engine and get active. So can you just remind us one more time before we sign off, your Vitality PR website is?
My Vitality site is at www.vitalitypr.com.
And Make Media Friends is?
You can find me at www.makemediafriends.com.
Well, that's nice and easy to remember. And of course, we'll include both of those links in today's show notes. Thank you so much for joining us on the show today.
Thank you for having me. I hope that I'm going to see the listeners of the show in the media very soon.
Yeah, me too. Thank you.
The Fitness Business Podcast is very appreciative of our podcast partners. Here's a quick word from one of our partners.
As you know, our goal at the Fitness Business Podcast is to help you grow your fitness business. So I love it when I can tell you about new products, programs, and solutions to help you do just that. Our show would not be possible without the support of our sponsors. And one of those awesome sponsors is Visual Fitness Planner. But before I tell you more about them, let me ask you these questions. What is your membership closing percentages? What percentage of your members at the point of sale sign up for a complimentary orientation session? What percentage of your new members actually show up for their complimentary orientation session? And most importantly, what percentage of your membership buys personal training? These are the numbers that you have to be asking yourself and measuring every single day. As the old saying goes, if you're not measuring your numbers, you're not managing your numbers. A club's set show close numbers are significantly improved because of the Visual Fitness Planner. The VFP provides a turnkey system for marketing, capturing, and integrating new members into a healthy lifestyle change. The VFP automates your existing sales, marketing, and orientation systems with the power of its visually impacting technology. VFP calculates a person's health risks for diseases, it predicts their health age, it creates a before and after 3D image of their body, and calculates how long it will take to achieve their goals. And in this process, increases your membership and personal training sales and overall member retention. To check out more about the VFP, head over to their website at myvfp.com.au. And of course, a copy of that website link is in today's show notes.
Get ready for this week's bonus segment, your extra injection of information, education, and inspiration to strengthen your fitness business.
So, Tribe, it's my pleasure to welcome back to the show who is now a regular guest. I'm going to call you a regular guest. It's Bill McBride. Welcome back, Bill.
Thank you very much.
Now, today you're here to talk to us about IHRSA and the IHRSA Institute. I thought maybe we could start off. You can perhaps give us your highlights from IHRSA 2016.
Yeah, IHRSA 2016 was on the East Coast of the United States, where it's typically on the West Coast. That was a little bit of a different experience in time zone, and we drew a lot more people from the East Coast than we sometimes get on the West Coast. So I thought it had a different but equally amazing vibe with the show this past year. For me, IHRSA's biggest thing about the conference is the bringing together of great people from all over the world. I mean, it's a true representation of the global passion around this industry. And you can't get that kind of experience without human interaction. You know, having all the networking, all the positive energy, the latest, greatest technologies and equipment from all over the world displayed for people to look at, try, and understand and purchase. You know, so it's the education, it's the networking, it's the manufacturers and the trade show. You know, but the energy this year was unbelievable, and I think it was a very, very successful show that I got a lot of takeaways out of. A lot of growth in the technology space with what's going on in the industry. Those would be some of my main highlights about the show. This next year in 2017, it'll be in LA, but we all had a great time in Orlando.
That sounds fantastic. Now, that's the show. Let's now talk about the IHRSA Institute. I'm sure that most of our tribe are aware of the Institute, but just in case there's anyone that is not, do you want to just give us a bit of an overview about the IHRSA Institute?
Yes, the IHRSA Institute is it's a combination of years of feedback and an advisory group that came up with the curriculum, but it's graduate level health club management leadership training. This year it's going to be August 2nd through 5th. It's going to be at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, the business school there in the Rizzo Conference Center. It's got an unbelievable lineup of faculty, and unlike IHRSA or a trade association or a conference, it's a real deep dive into content. You're going to have longer sessions. You're going to have immersion into topics. The curriculums weave to go together throughout the course of the program. And it's a relatively small group. It's typically less than 100 people that come together as attendees plus faculty. And so it's an opportunity to form a network that you will cherish and utilize the rest of your career. These are individuals not from your organization that you form relationships and friendships with, and they become professional colleagues, and you have an opportunity to network with them, bounce things off of them, share ideas, and form another resource in your career. You know, typically at Active, we send anywhere from 2 to 4 or 5 people every year. Most of my executive team has gone through the IHRSA Institute at some point in their career. When you look around the industry, you'll see many people that have proven to be very successful and have attended at some point in their career this particular program. So if I have anybody that shows potential for leadership and management growth, I send them there and consider this a required course. If I'm an individual that wants to grow and wants to get better and wants to take the next steps in my career, at any level, it's a program, for that individual to embrace, So I think it's, we say it's the best kept secret because a lot of operators haven't sent people to this program, and it's really a missed opportunity. I mean, it is one of the best things that URSA provides from an educational platform. And I encourage everybody to send 1, 2, or more folks if you want them to really get an amazing education and opportunity to grow and expand.
That sounds fantastic, Bill. Thank you so much for sharing that with us and giving us some insights into the URSA Institute. Now, Tribe, if you want to check out some more information, if you do want to get involved, then we're going to include the link for the URSA Institute in today's show notes. So you can go on, you can check it out, and you can contact URSA to find out more. Bill, I want to say thank you so much for joining us on the show once again today. Thank you for telling us about your experience at URSA 2016 and for sharing with us your insights on the URSA Institute. We can't wait to chat to you again soon.
Thank you very much for having me. It's been a pleasure. I appreciate it.
It's time for the Fitness Business Podcast Wrap.
Here are my top takeaways from this week's show. Lisa Simone said that everybody has a story. The challenge is to come up with an interesting way to tell it. She said capitalize on stories that are already existing. Think about seasonal stories around things like winter and summer. Pitch to the media and to journalists when you have something of value to share. She said, always consider how your product or service relates to the audience. And she tells us that social media is a great way to connect to key media contacts like fitness and lifestyle editors. Tribe, to celebrate our 1-year birthday, our friends at Active Management are giving everyone a free business resource download valued at $100. To get your gift, head over to fitnessbusinesspodcast.com/active and you can choose from one of 4 resources. Do not miss out. Jump on today. That's fitnessbusinesspodcast.com/active. Now, next week, I have got for you the best of the girls. I've gone through the last 20 shows and pulled out some of the best bits of advice, information, and inspiration. And next week, you're going to be hearing from Ann Coppins on gamification, Mo Hagan on the future of group fitness, Petra Kolber on goal setting. All of that is in next week's show. Thank you so much for joining me for another week of the Fitness Business Podcast. And remember, what you leave behind is not what's engraved in stone monuments, but what is woven into the lives of others.
Great show this week that you should be suffering DOMs, delayed onset mind soreness, as you are overloaded and that's when your mind is strengthened. You and your business have been strengthened thanks to the amazing support of our premier sponsor, Active Management. Check out www.activemgmt.com.au only if you want to strengthen your business and your leadership. Don't forget all today's links and notes are found at www.fitnessbusinesspodcast.com, where you can also subscribe and never miss a show and maybe win a prize. Next week is another incredible guest with Chantal, so get ready for more Fit Bizpiration.